Major League Baseball free agency is upon us, and what a start it has been. Kinda. We've barely had any movement so far, unless you're the LA Angels or a really fun trade between the Reds and the Kansas City Royals. So, luckily for us, baseball has given us the opportunity to still predict where some of these key free agents are going to land. We all know the Juan Soto one is going to be the main one, so we're going to save that for the end. My prediction, starting from the bottom of my list and working my way up. Luis Severino, I have him going to the San Francisco Giants. This is the type of prove-it pitcher contract that they have been living off of lately. And so I think that he did prove it a little bit with the Mets, but then not a ton with the Mets. And so I think that the Giants would be a very smart landing spot for him. Tanner Scott, I have him going to the Toronto Blue Jays. You will probably notice a pattern, and you can probably pick up on who my favorite team would be if you are watching my content for the first time. Yes, I am a Blue Jays fan, and I am very aware of the desperation around this team. And so, admittedly, going through this, budget-wise, I don't got a fucking clue how they're going to pull this off, but we'll see how they do it. Because I think that there is an absolute desperation in Toronto for this team to get better immediately. And so one area where they need to, they just let Jordan Romano walk probably, which got a lot more buzz than it needed to. A 31-year-old closer coming off of elbow problems who the team had do a workout a week before they non-tendered him and then let him go to free agency. And it's, oh, they strung him along. It's like, look, I am all for getting just unreasonably worked up about something the Blue Jays front office did or didn't do. This one ain't it. Like, let's pump the brakes on that a little bit. But I do think that Toronto does spend this offseason and does so very aggressively. And so I think Tanner Scott is going to be the guy that, or one of the guys that the Blue Jays spend on to help kind of upgrade the pitching situation there. Christian Walker, everyone and their dog has him going here, but I think it is such a perfect fit to put him with the Yankees. He is the power bat that this middle of the lineup really needs outside of Judge and maybe Soto. They need a first baseman because Anthony Rizzo isn't going to be there anymore. And so this just feels like a perfect match there in New York. Teoscar Hernandez. Back to the Blue Jays. Again, you can see where my bias is coming in here a little bit. But one of the things that I think Toronto was really lacking over the last couple of years is some joy in their game. And that might be really reductive to just, oh, well, they didn't play well because they weren't happy. And then you get into the loop of, well, winning makes you happy and blah, 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 blah. But I think you saw last year, Vladdy, with some of the young kids, he was really starting to enjoy himself and really starting to have some fun again. And that's when he just started launching the bejesus out of every baseball that came at him. And he had one of the better seasons of anyone in the majors last season. So I think that you kind of throw your guy a bone. You bring back a good friend of his from what it appeared. It wasn't the perfect exit, I don't think. But I do think that he fits what they need right now as a power bat in that outfield, a desperately needed power bat in that outfield, and kind of allows them to improve the talent and the vibes at the same time. The LA Angels, I have them signing Sean Manaea. Seems like the depth pitching move that they do quite a bit. Now, I did make this list before Yusei Kikuchi signed a surprisingly expensive contract with the Los Angeles Angels, but I do think that this is still a depth type of a piece that they will bring in and probably try to flip at the trade deadline for literally anything. Anthony Santander, no, I'm kidding. I have him going to the Seattle Mariners. This is a Mariners team that has figured out the pitching thing, and now they need to get offense going in a big time way. Obviously, they lose Teoscar Hernandez, trading him away to the Dodgers. I don't see that being a reunion, but I see them being aggressive in free agency and going out and getting an Anthony Santander. Jack Flaherty, I have him going back to the Detroit Tigers. It worked well there. Why not go for it again? As the Tigers, things started going very well post-trade deadline, but I think that is another big arm that they can throw out there. Pete Alonso. The Toronto Blue Jays. Yes, again, probably some homerism coming into this one here, but the Blue Jays, again, desperate for some power in the middle of that lineup. Designated hitter-wise, who knows what they are going to be doing this season, and so I think Alonso can fit in there. He can play some first base if Vlad moves over to third, and can also play some first base, allowing Vlad to DH. So I think, again, look, you're not signing Pete Alonso for the flexibility that it provides you. So I think that this is a move that they still need to make because of the power that he can bring to the middle of that order. I'm going to kind of bounce around on my own sheet. Probably didn't need to tell you that, but it makes sense for my moves here. Corbin Burnes, I have him going to the Mets. I think the Mets need an ace to make a move up in this division. They are obviously very willing to spend a lot of capital to go out and try to make that happen. And so I think that he is a perfect fit for the New York Mets. Max Fried, then I have going to the Baltimore Orioles to recover the loss from Corbin Burnes, go out and add someone who at his best can be one of the best pitchers in baseball. Willy Adames, I have him also going to the Toronto Blue Jays. Part of it could be some insurance if Bo doesn't stick around. If Toronto does move on from Bo, then Willy Adames just fits right up the middle and again can provide pretty good bat. If they do want to hang out with Bo Bichette a little bit longer, then I don't know that he wouldn't. You could probably put one of them at second base, would be my assumption. You could probably make that work. And then offensively, it gives you a juggernaut team. So if I'm right on all the Blue Jays picks, all of a sudden this team has completely redesigned their offense. And so given how Blue Jays off seasons have gone, I'm probably very wrong. Blake Snell, I have him sticking with the San Francisco Giants. This is a team that I think needs to have a very good offseason, and I don't have them getting a lot of the bigger names. So I think sticking with your guy who can win a Cy Young, I think that makes sense a little bit. So I'm going to go with him. Alex Bregman, now we're getting to the real big names here. I have him going to Seattle. This is an offense that needs that big bat. He brings some experience as well, coming from a championship-winning team. He stays out in the West Division, and I think he can now be a leader for the Seattle Mariners team, who, again, I think probably has a little bit of incentive to be quite aggressive this year in free agency. And then Juan Soto, I have him going to the Yankees. It just, as I've made it very clear, Blue Jay fan here, he's a Yankee. You know, would obviously love for him to be a Blue Jay. Still not buying it at all. He's a Yankee. If he stays in New York and goes to the Mets, it's going to be a bit of a downer to me, to be perfectly honest with you. And this is someone who would love to not have to face him in my division for the next decade of my life. But he fits the city. He fits the team. He fits the ballpark perfectly. He fits the swagger and the aura that my generation would associate with the New York Yankees. Not this haven't won a World Series in over a decade thing. 15 years now, by the way. None of that stuff. But the team that was out there and just buying championships and buying pennants and doing all of these things. He is that guy. And so I can't come on here a few weeks ago and do the big money baseball is back. And then, but you know what? I think that this guy's going to whoever. No, it is the Yankees. And if he doesn't go to New York to play for the Yankees, I shudder to think at the counter that this team would do to try to fill that spot. Because I do not think it would be rational what would happen out in New York after that. But I just, again, for as much as I would despise it, every aspect of it fits perfectly for Juan Soto to go to New York. Stay in New York and stay in pinstripes, the Yankee kind.